Hello everyone, Chris Guthrie here, host of Sellercast, and in today's episode I speak with Spencer Hawes, a longtime friend of mine and blogger over at nichepursuits.com. Spencer has a unique background because one of the things he's going to talk about in today's episode is that he's already started building and ranking a website in Google and getting a fairly substantial amount of traffic that he's then using to drive back to the products that he's selling on Amazon. This is unique amongst the guests that I've had on the show so far. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And if you want to see the show notes, go to sellercast.com/13 so you can get links to all the different resources that Spencer mentions in this episode. And finally, Spencer's actually a longtime user of SalesBacker. So if you'd like to use the exact same tool that he credits in this episode to helping him get more product reviews, you can go to sellercast.com/now to start your free 60-day trial. So check that out and let's start the show. Hello, everyone. Chris Guthrie here, host of Sellercast. And in today's episode, I have a good friend of mine, longtime friend, actually, years now. Spencer Hawes is on the podcast as well. Thank you for coming, Spencer.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. I guess it has been a while.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to recall back as I was talking there how many years we've known each other. But yeah, so it's great that you're here. And it's great, too, because I know that you've been selling for a while on Amazon. You've been really enjoying the business model. But how long have you been selling on Amazon for?
So I officially got my first product up, I think it was right around March 1st of 2015. So it's been whatever that equals out to be, 8 months or something like that. I started, the research process and started sourcing the product probably January of this year. So almost 1 year I've really, started the business.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, I definitely know the answer to this question I want to ask you, but for people that aren't familiar with you and your blog and everything else that you've been doing for so long, what were you doing before you started selling on Amazon?
Yeah, so I do have a couple of other online businesses. Of course, I do have my blog at nichepursuits.com. And then I have a software product, a keyword research tool called Longtail Pro at longtailpro.com. And so those are big pieces of my business. But I really started out back in the day, 2006, 2007, building small niche websites, just trying to rank for very specific key terms. And I built out a large website portfolio. And in 2011 is when I finally was able to quit my day job and just focus on my websites. Then I guess it was kind of 2011 that I launched Niche Pursuits and Longtail Pro and have built those business in addition to all my other websites as well. So yeah, just kind of have several different little online businesses going. And then this whole Amazon thing came around and yeah, it's been a fun ride so far.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit more about that. I mean, you have these other businesses that are doing well and they're, somewhat related. I mean, I know that people could use Longtail Pro to help get keywords for use within your Amazon
Very
listings,
true.
for example. Yep. But, why did you even bother going into this space? It's entirely different. When you're selling physical products, it's much different than digital, of course. Right. When you're dealing with, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, you're dealing with physical products. You obviously have inventory issues you have to manage.
Yep.
So what actually made you decide to start selling on Amazon then?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because I started seeing a lot of other people having success selling on Amazon. And I honestly didn't know hardly anything about this business. I didn't quite understand that it could be 100% hands off like an online business. I always assumed that if you were selling a physical product, you needed to store that in your own warehouse, or in your garage, and you had to package that and ship it, yourself, actually tape the boxes and sell this. And so that was never, I was like, well, that's not a business I ever want to do. I don't want to physically do something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that you like to run. It just sounds like you're trying to avoid working out or something,
Yeah, I guess so. I have my exercise time and then my business time. So the light bulb went off when I started reading other people were having success. And somewhere along the line, it finally clicked that this really can be like an online business. You don't have to touch the inventory. You just have to send some emails essentially to get the product created in China. And so, yeah, it all sort of came together that, hey, this can be, in a way, a more passive type business. I don't have to be packaging all these things myself. And I saw the upside potential that a lot of other people were having. And so that just got me really, really interested.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean that's the thing is that using Fulfilled by Amazon is
Oh,
really
it's
what takes a
huge.
huge amount of that part of that
Yeah,
out. But
exactly.
then I've since learned that there are companies that you can still talk to and they can handle your fulfillment for you.
Yep.
But the main advantage, of course, with Amazon is that you get access to those millions and millions of Prime members that just absolutely love the 2 day shipping, the free 2 day shipping type of thing. So
Yeah, so for me, I mean, it was just almost getting educated on the business. I just didn't understand how it worked. And once I understood, yes, fulfilled by Amazon, I mean, that's just huge. And that you can have a logistics company basically get it from China to your house or to Amazon. Um, it just really can streamline the entire business. So once I got educated, it became really appealing. And that's how I got started as far as becoming interested in the business.
that's awesome. Yeah. And so you basically saw there was an opportunity and you started to get after it. And certainly you've leveraged the fact that you've done other successful
Sure.
businesses I think that in general, if you've done something before, then it helps give you that confidence to try something, even if it's entirely outside of a range you've done before and to get after it. So let's actually talk about your success so far then. So where are you at sales wise? Now, I know that at the time we're recording this, it's like the day before Thanksgiving. We're going to publish this in December, but uh, where are you at before as we head into Black Friday and the craziness that will occur then?
Hmm. As far as overall monthly sales volume?
Yeah, yeah. What are you doing on average per month now?
Yeah, so I've had some higher months and some lower months, but right now I'm about 20,000 a month, at least in the latest month and a half or so. I had a nice, basically when I'm running on all cylinders, when I had all my products in inventory, and I'm still new, so I'm kind of working through some of those issues. When I had all my products in inventory, I had a $40,000 month. Okay, but then I ran out of inventory and I only had a couple of products in stock out of five. And so, yeah, basically with those inventory issues, I'm at about $20,000 a month. I just got new stock in, so I should be firing on all cylinders, starting now, just in time for Black Friday. And so December should be a really good month. We'll see where it ends up, but I'm expecting good things. Definitely my highest month ever, hopefully.
That's awesome. And when I talk to, it's funny because this is a recurring theme when I talk to anyone that sells on Amazon. But it's people are either, especially if I'm talking to someone that's just starting out, say they've been selling for less than a year, but when they first start selling, they either get their product up and then they can't keep the product in stock because it's just doing really well, or they can't get their initial sales to even get off the ground in the first place, right? So there's these
Yeah.
really vast like gaps between the two, and then it's more rare to find someone that's right in the middle and they're able to manage to get the stock in. I mean, is the biggest challenge really that it's just selling better than you expected, and so it's a challenge to keep it in stock, or how would you try and handle that problem? Because obviously, if you can solve it, you're going to be making considerably more money and growing that business even faster.
Yeah, so I do think that I'll be able to solve it, and hopefully it is solved now. But it was the issue of things just sold faster than I thought, and so with my product, I've always had to do, because I sell an oversized product. I will share that, and so I've had to do shipping via ocean freight, which is much
Mm-hmm.
slower than air. So that's part of the problem, is that there's this huge lead time, almost basically a couple of months, because it takes them a month to create the product, and then it takes a month to ship it essentially and to get it into stock. So there's this huge lead time, and when I first started selling on Amazon, I didn't go out and order, thousands and thousands of units. I wanted to test the product and see if it would sell well. So all of my initial orders were fairly small. And I think that still was a smart thing to do, because if I didn't sell, if it didn't sell at all, I would have been stuck forever with a bunch of inventory if I had ordered some huge batch. So I ordered very small batches of inventory, and they did. They sold a lot quicker than I was expecting. And so by the time I got around to reordering, I basically already knew I was going to be out of stock for like 2 months, right? So
Yeah.
so that's essentially what happened here, because as mentioned, I do have 5 products now. So I got the first product figured out, and by the time I added the second through the fourth, I was just testing those, and those went out of stock really quick. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm getting sort of my second order for all these other products back in, And I think I hopefully will have it figured out now, right? I ordered a much larger batch, so I know that those will be in stock, and I can calculate out that 2-month lead time when I need to reorder.
Yeah. When I talk to people that are already successful in the past, or they have access to capital that they can use in this business, it's a couple different camps that come up. One is the approach that you just kind of mentioned, where you start with lower inventory, even though you have the capital to essentially, if it fell apart, it would be unfortunate to lose that money, but you have other successful businesses that can help drive that and replenish those reserves. And then I talked to some people that just go like nuts. They put in, I talked to someone at a conference a while back. They put in like $30,000 in their first product. I'm like,
man.
dude, that's way too much. That's way too much to do. But
yeah, I could see it going either way, right? I took a very conservative approach. I do now see that I'm seeing some success. And so I feel like if I did another new product, I probably would be a little more aggressive. Just because I've proven out the model to myself a little bit more. And yes, I do have access to a little more capital than, somebody just starting out. So you really can go either way. I would never say go overboard, 30,000. I mean, that's a little crazy, but you could maybe get a little more aggressive if you have the experience and capital and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully he's done his research and found something that will do well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it still might work out, but yeah. So, and that was a question I was going to ask, is not you've proven that it works for you. If you're going to go and try and do large orders for your future products, but sounds like that's on your path.
Yeah. I think that I definitely would, order a larger batch next time.
Yeah. There's a few things you mentioned in that previous answer that I wanted to kind of dive into. One, you mentioned specifically that you're doing ocean freight, and I want to talk about that a bit. And then the other, that you're using an oversized product. So are you doing oversized products for all of your products, or is it just the first one that you started doing?
They are all oversized.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So here's a good question. I know that when you first start selling on Amazon, oversized, they put a limit at 500, right? Mm-hmm. And so is it just, you started with less than 500 units for your first one, and then since you got those initial sales, Amazon was able to see that volume and they automatically added you, or did you call them and ask them to increase the volume?
Yeah, so I have now had them increase the volume twice on 2 different occasions, and I had to contact them. So you're right, it was at 500, and then I got it increased. I believe they did it to 800. And then I could see that the holiday season was coming up, and I ordered, now I've got 5 products, and I ordered larger batches. And there's 800 is just not anywhere near enough. So I requested again. It took a couple of requests. I did call them on the phone the second time, and I'm now up to 1,600 units they got me approved for. They basically doubled my capacity. So yeah, that's kind of the process.
Yeah. I mean, I've always heard that there's not too many people I've talked to that haven't been able to get that increase, but it's certainly something to be aware of. But, even if you are going to sell oversized items, it's you just kind of work your way up to it. And one thing too you can always do is you can actually store that inventory in like a separate warehouse potentially, and then send it in over time type of thing.
And that's exactly what I'm doing, because I've ordered way more than 1,600 units for the holiday season, across my 5 products. And so I'm sort of piecemeal, right? So I send like 300 units of each product in right now on Amazon, and then as those sell, I've got the rest of the inventory stored at a warehouse in LA, or just outside of Amazon warehouse or whatever, right? Yeah, that I can get to Amazon within a couple of days real quick.
Okay. And so then that's great. And I think that doing oversized items is a bit unusual. A lot of people that I talk to, especially for their first product, they start out with something small, lightweight, that can be airshipped, et cetera. If you look at, any courses, and we don't have to go into the courses, but pretty much every course out there seems to talk about lighter airshipped items as like a starting point. Right. And I guess the idea is that maybe people get their initial success with one item. They can see, oh, wow, yes, you can sell these products. And then they use that confidence and maybe some of the capital to go off and do something that's more challenging or that's oversized or whatever. And then you went straight forward. Do you think that that's part of why you were successful, in the sense that there's just less people going after those types of categories? I guess maybe, depending on how you answer this, you maybe have some more competition down the
line. Yeah, no. It could be, that there is some less competition there. the reason I went oversized is, to be honest, I didn't take any course. I didn't do a ton of research into the business other than reading some blog posts and listening to some podcasts. I had a couple people on my podcast, and I figured, you know what? I've run businesses in the past. I know what I'm doing. And so I just went for it. And the product that I found, actually, the product I found was one that met my own personal need. It just so happened that, hey, I like this product. I can't find exactly what I want on Amazon. Why don't I just create this and list it up on Amazon? And it happened to be an oversized product. So that's why I did it. And but yeah, there could be some benefits there of perhaps there's lower competition. Not a ton of new people are going into this category, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. And then you mentioned too that this kind of leads into the other question is, how you kind of picked your first product, but it sounds like it was just something you personally wanted or had a need for.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, okay. So, I did do a lot of research, and the idea kind of popped into my head. I don't know exactly why, other than, I've had a similar product to what I'm now selling in the past that I had purchased somewhere else, not on Amazon. And I basically wanted to replace this, right? And so I went to Amazon, and try as I might, I couldn't find, exactly what I was looking for. And so I thought, well, if there's a lot of people liking this particular feature set of this product like me that, and they can't find it on Amazon, all these other people, I might as well create it and sell it. So that has worked really well. Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely different than, everyone doing the exact same product. I think that a lot of people, especially people that are just starting out, that's a common mistake, that they see that there's a lot of products being sold and they figure I'll just sell the exact same thing. And in the short term, yes, even if there's lots of people selling something, you could still be successful with that. But yeah, over the long run, it's going to be more challenging,
right,
to make that sustainably last. So that's great that you started off well in that regard. So then one other question I actually had about the ocean side, I've talked to people that do ocean shipping. How did you handle, was it just an additional logistical challenge, or did you use like a freight forwarder, or how did you manage that type of shipping?
Yeah, I did use a freight forwarder to handle all that. And that really is a lifesaver because they go out and they arrange the shipping, of course, from China to the US. And once it gets to the dock in the US, they go through and on your behalf, pass it through customs and pay any tariffs or fees, and go through all of that paperwork once it hits the dock, right? And then they take it, they get it into their warehouse, and then, of course, forward it on to Amazon once you're ready to do that. So having a logistics company, a freight forwarder in place, that's the only way to do it. Having to do it on your own would be a nightmare.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where even if you pay a little bit more, it's worth worth it. But then maybe once you're at a much, much larger scale, then it's like, okay, you can have an employee that's in charge of managing all of your sea shipping. But even then, it still might be, don't bother with that.
Yeah, I would have to be down the road quite a bit before I even thought about that. Yes, the fees are more. And so you have to consider that if there's enough margin there. In my particular case, the margin is fine on the product. And so it just makes my life easier. So it's worth the little bit extra money I have to pay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how you did your first product, and then you expanded into 4 other products. Yep. Did you stay within the exact same niche, or did you go out into other areas to just explore some other opportunities?
No, I've stayed in the exact same niche the whole time at this point. The first product sold well, the margins were good, and there's a lot of other opportunities within the same niche. And so I figured, why not? It makes sense for my brand. And so that's what I've done. I've got 4 additional products in the same category.
Okay. And then so everything you sourced, you used Alibaba, or did you use some other type of sourcing?
Yeah, went to Alibaba.com, and able to find manufacturers there just fine.
And how many, just because I'm always curious what people do in terms of the number of things they tend, how did you get samples from multiple suppliers, or?
Yeah, I have. I've gotten samples from several different suppliers on the different products, and I have narrowed it down to 2. I have 2 manufacturers creating the 5 different products.
Okay. And so then what are your next steps? You've been selling for about 8 months. You mentioned March, beginning of March is when you start selling. 5 products. Are you planning to just continue launching product after product, or are you trying to narrow in, focus on less products, and then just make sure you have plenty of stock, maybe do some variants for those products, etc.? Or what are your goals moving forward?
Okay, so I do have some plans. Certainly for my existing products, I want to grow and expand those as much as possible. And part of my way of growing my existing products is I've created a separate e-commerce website off of Amazon, and started building out lots of content. Of course, that's my expertise, if you will, is SEO and building out websites that rank in Google. And so seen a lot of success already with that as far in terms of traffic, that separate website.
Oh, great.
And of course, I have a products page on that site, and that's driving traffic to Amazon right now.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think that let's dive into that a bit more, because it's not as common that people do that. A lot of times I talk to people that are just selling on Amazon, and ultimately that is a bit of a risk if you're just relying on that one platform for getting your traffic.
Yep.
But if it's working and you're making money and you can reinvest that capital into growing your business and kind of exploring these other opportunities, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, if you can try and get there, that's what you should do. So you've already done that, because again, you mentioned that was your expertise. What did you focus on for that website? So you're writing content. How much content are you writing? Can you talk about the platform that you're using for your website, et cetera?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So it's just a WordPress website right now, and we have focused almost exclusively on content. So initially, we wrote nice long product descriptions on my products, right? So the 5 products I'm selling, we got a nice product description, sales page. And like I mentioned, there's essentially a add to cart button, but it's just taking people to Amazon right now. Okay. Just to make it easy. But other than that, the content is all, we're reviewing other products in the same category. And we did a ton of keyword research on, just lots of different keywords, easy to rank for type keywords in our niche. And so, at this point, we probably, if not now, we will very soon have about 100 pieces of content, 100 articles up on the site. Oh, wow. And the traffic isn't huge, but we're up to, I think, 250 unique visitors a day at this point, which, I can tell you does bring in some sales every now and again to my own products. And so, yeah, that's the plan. Eventually, we'll probably take it to a full e-commerce where people can check out on our website and do that sort of thing. But that's a next step.
Yeah. Okay. And so the way that those sales are coming through is you're just using Amazon affiliate links, basically.
Yes. So we can track that. Yep.
That's great. And everyone I talk to that's doing significant volume on Amazon, and even people that are starting out, they're finding ways to drive additional traffic to their Amazon listings, and they're seeing some success with that, both in just the additional sales, but also Amazon seeing those outside indicators like traffic coming to a listing that's from outside Amazon, and that potentially helping with some of the rankings. I can't say for sure because I'm not an Amazon search engine expert, and obviously, just like Google, they don't keep those factors in place, or those factors public rather. But that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other thing I'm doing to grow the business is I am expanding into other categories. At least that's the plan, right? So, I'm doing a little bit of both. I have my 5 existing products. I do have 2 other products in the same category that will be in stock very soon. In fact, I think they're on a boat from China as we speak. So within 2 to 3 weeks, those will be up. So I'll have 7 products come mid-December. And then the plan is to keep expanding in that category with additional products, but to then try my hand in other niches, other categories outside of that. I expect to do that first quarter of 2016 to launch, another couple products unrelated to my other products.
Okay, so that's a good question, or that's a good direction we can go. Where are you going to set up a separate company to do that?
I am in the process of considering that. I think so. I think that I probably will. And I just so happen to have a couple of entities already set up that I could probably basically repurpose one of them to, be my other entity on Amazon already. So I most likely will do that.
Yeah. So for people listening, sellercast.com/3 is an episode that I recorded with a friend of mine that he had built and sold 2 Amazon e-commerce businesses for $365,000 in cash. And that's exactly what he did, is he would set up, one business, and it would be all wholly just that one thing. And you can just hand it off to someone else and then completely wipe his hands and walk away.
Yep.
And so, definitely I'd suggest that if you're planning on doing, a second business, to do that same thing. Because otherwise it's just so hard to untangle those. Yeah. If you ever wanted to sell.
No, that's a good point. And so I will say, yes, I'm going to do a separate LLC. I just decided.
Great, here we go.
I was leaning that way, but definitely now. Because you mentioned selling, and I see that as a really interesting opportunity here. I mean, if you think about it, I've started in my first category. If I can build that up to, let's say, 50 or 60,000 a month, which is definitely not unreasonable, and run it for another even 6 to 12 months, so that I have a year and a half or so of history, year and a half to 2 years, I could totally go out and sell that business. And that could be really, really interesting to walk away and have already started a new Amazon business in a different category, just put a big chunk of change in my pocket and move on to another category.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I have to connect you to the core.
It's a tempting idea.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. So then I want to talk a bit more about, we're kind of coming near the end. Are there any other, and actually let's just go with that. Are there any other challenges that you faced in building this business that you suggest, others watch out for? You mentioned that you didn't learn from any courses. You kind of read some blogs, listened to some podcasts, had your past business experience that you could leverage. Let's go with that.
Yeah. Just additional challenges. There are some, what are the biggest challenges? The logistics, honestly, is a big part of it. Just learning that, the lead times, especially if you're doing ocean freight and that sort of thing. That's been frustrating, probably almost since day one, is I want this business to move faster. Right. I want it done now, but I have to wait 2 months before something gets in stock. So that's been a huge learning curve. And I know we already talked about that, but it really is. That's kind of the biggest X factor in this business, is just getting the inventory lead times and staying in stock, getting that all figured out. The other thing are fairly small things, but managing reviews and customer support or questions, right? So you do get customers that email you, and sometimes you get negative reviews, and being able to respond to those. And actually, SalesBacker has been good about that, because it notifies me if I get a 2-star review or something. So I can be on top of that right away and can either respond or contact the customer or that sort of thing. So there are some small little management things that all don't get talked about a lot, customer reviews and getting questions from customers. It's not huge, but if you expand your business, you might eventually have to take an employee on to do that, or spend a lot more of your own time doing that.
Yeah, definitely. So then on the employee side, actually, I was curious, are you using anyone right now in the business that's helping? And I think we'll wrap up here in a second, but is anyone else helping you on this front as well?
Not a lot. I do have a couple of other employees for, my other businesses. And from time to time, I do have them help out a little bit. But honestly, I've done, well over 90% of everything is just been me. And so, and at this point, my time involved is not huge at all. So I always get annoyed, with a couple of customer support emails, here I am showing how lazy I am. Right. But it's not been huge, like a couple of customer support issues, maybe a day, and then just making sure the inventory and all of that is taken care of. So I've handled most of it myself, no problem.
Well, it's good that you've done so much of it yourself, because now you can you can pretty much probably set up systems in place for a lot of the things that you do. I know you mentioned that it's not a ton of your time,
Yep.
But then if you start that second company, maybe it's even like an exercise would be to just say, okay, let's see if I can have this one just under my direction, but have someone else do it entirely. That's a suggestion for you.
No, absolutely. And I mean, that would be the plan. Absolutely. As it starts to creep in more and more of my time, I would hire somebody, a virtual assistant or a part-time person to basically run the business for me. Once I've got the products picked and the descriptions written and up, they can just maintain and manage everything at that point. So that's a very real possibility down the road.
Awesome. Well, cool, Spencer. Thank you so much for coming on to talk about your business. I know you've been doing well really quickly, and so I wanted people to hear your expertise. I think that the approach that you went with the oversized items was helpful. I think also too, it sounds like you did a lot of research into something by making sure that the product was more challenging to find on Amazon when you're trying to replace it for your own needs. And so that was another key element to your success, I'm sure.
Yep, absolutely.
So awesome. Thanks again, Spencer, for coming on and sharing. And for people that are listening, you can go to sellercast.com/13 to listen to or to check out the show notes and some of the links that Spencer mentioned with his blog and everything else. Thanks again, Spencer, for coming on, and have a great rest of your day.
Yep. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
All right, now was the episode with Spencer. You can check out the show notes by going to sellercast.com/13. And as we end this episode, I want to ask for a brief favor. And if you've been selling on Amazon for any period of time, then you know what I'm about to ask you. And yes, that is what I would like to ask you to do, is to leave a review of the show on iTunes or wherever you may be listening to it. Because the more people that review our show, the more people will then be able to find it. And of course, the more guests I can bring on to help share secrets with you and strategies that are working for them in growing their e-commerce businesses. So please do take a moment to leave a review. And if you want to listen to any past episodes of Sellercast, you can just simply go to sellercast.com and you'll be redirected to the episode list. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.